Good morning, Austin. I guess we're live here, slide 12. This is the Atheist Experience, and we'd like to welcome you here. My name is Ray Blevins. My co-host Joe Zamecki. This week's guest, David Kent. And, oh.
That's not us.
I thought I heard something there for a minute. I thought I heard an introduction there. Okay. Well, I guess we had a great show last week. Sorry I missed it. I'm back. Enjoyed my vacation.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yes.
First off, I'd like to do a few announcements here from the Atheist Community of Austin. We do have a newsletter. This is John Coons is now doing a fine job with that. And,
let's see if we can get a zoom on that.
Which one am I?
Go ahead and hold it up there. You're
okay. There we go.
Excellent.
He does a fine job on that. And we meet every Sunday at the Hot Jumble Bakery. Right after we get done here, we head down there. And just a few announcements here. At our last general membership meeting, 5/3/98, the following were elected. For co-chairs, we have Don Rhodes and Kellen Von Hauser. They did such a fine job last year. They got reelected. I don't think there was any doubt yeah, was it unanimous? That's the word I was trying to think of. Then for treasurer and secretary, yours truly, Ray Blevins. We have our board members, Keith Burka, Sue Osborne, Rodney Florence, Arlo Pinade, Earl Beach, John Coons, Arvel Bond, Ralph Shirley, and Joe Zamecki. So if anybody ever in the group has any questions or anything else that they'd like, feel free to contact any of these people. They're on the board of directors, and we try to keep things going there. We do have our board meeting today, which will be at 12 noon after our general membership meeting at the Hot Jumble Bakery. And like I say, right afterwards at 12 noon will be our board meeting for this month. July 29th is our TV committee meeting, which will be here at the TV studio at 7:30. So all the TV crew, which we're doing a great job there, all you guys out there, appreciate y'all. August 2nd is our next lecture series with Ed Sharf. He'll be speaking about the Free Thinker Monument to be erected in Comfort, Texas. And we're going to have him on that show, on our TV show that day.
Yep.
And definitely looking forward to having him on the show and everything else. September 6th is a lecture by Mosh Vership. It's titled "The Bible Ethics and Other Atrocities," and for a subtitle it says, "If you think there must be some good in it, get over it." Both these lectures are at Furs Cafeteria in North Cross Mall at 11 a.m. and they're free and open to the public. Yeah, anybody who wants to can come. And that's pretty much for announcements on this. Go on down the line. We do have a couple of news articles here that we'd like to share with everyone, and we'll start with Joe's here.
Okay, I'll go ahead and quickly repeat one news article that I found. I talked about this last week. This is in Republic, Missouri. There is a fight brewing up about the city seal of Republic, Missouri. And if we could get a zoom on this, it'd be great.
That's pretty small.
Yeah, we did last week and with no problem. Go, Don. You got it.
There you go. Yeah.
4-section city seal here. And, you know, we've got the state silhouette there, and then the fish, and there's, on the other side it's hard to see, but it's a hand, and then you got a family down there. But the fish is what is causing the big uproar. Okay, it's a lawsuit now, basically over this Christian symbol here on this city seal, and now the ACLU is involved, and there's a lawsuit. And actually, it's kind of silly the way it started. It was a logo contest that the city put on, and a woman won, and she won a $100 prize and got to design the city seal, and went ahead and put in the Christian fish, and she made a couple of comments about it because of the uproar. She said the fish is better than a cross because if you use a cross, the Jewish people are mad because it's not a Star of David. She went on to say, I wanted a symbol that would represent religion totally, all religion.
All religion.
The fish, right, all religion. No, well, come on. We all know this is just one religion, Christianity. Anyway, that was one, and we will, when we get some more news about that, we will keep our viewers up to date.
And like I said, we are live July 12th. We will be taking phone calls. I see we got people online already. Let's go ahead and do our news articles, and we'll get right to the phones here. David Kent.
Okay, we have an interesting little article here. This came from the Associated Press this week from London. And this is an instance of art imitating life. Probably everybody who's watching the show has seen Jurassic Park. They found a little dinosaur which very much resembles the velociraptor. If you remember that clawed dinosaur from the movie, believe it or not, here it comes. This is described as a cat-like flesh-eating dinosaur discovered in fossils on the Isle of Wight, which is off the south coast of England, and it is from a previously unknown species. A little amateur fossil collector was fooling around off the coast of the Isle of Wight last year and came across this 12-foot-long skeleton, which had murderous claws, razor-sharp teeth, and unusually long hind legs on which it ran at a high speed. And the curator, Steve Hutt, from the Isle of Wight Museum of Geology at Sandown, said, we've never quite seen anything like it before, and he checked with the Dynamation International Society, which is the international Colorado-based dinosaur research group, and their senior paleontologist, Jim Kirkland, said this is important because there were enough fossils to determine what the animal was like, and because dinosaurs of the early Cretaceous age, which occurred between 140 million and 65 million years ago, do not come along often. And he described this animal as a lithe, whippy thing that moved very fast as it hunted different kinds of prey. Just kind of interesting to discover that animal life on this planet goes back that far. Just another piece of evidence.
We lost our caller there in the process there.
Oh dear.
Don't take it personal there, David. There,
Call us
I don't know, she got bored waiting for us or what there. But we are live July 12th. We're taking your phone calls. We're talking about today's topic being Armageddon because it ties in with our book review, which is coming down the line here in just a second. But we will take your calls on about any other questions you'd have about atheists or religions in general. My news article here is in Sunday's paper here. It came up. Peking man may not have built campfires in his caves after all, according to a new study. Archaeologists have believed for more than 50 years that a cave in Zandali, China, I doubt if I pronounced that right, contained evidence that humans learned to control and use fire about 500,000 years ago. The era when Homo erectus, also known as Peking man, was the dominant humanoid. But basically goes on to explain that because they didn't find the wood ash, they found bones that had been burnt, and as far as I can tell, the bones were actually carried in. And the reason that carried in because of flooding there or whatever else. The whole point, but the reason I wanted to bring this article was it just shows you how science is willing to look at its evidence and reformulate theories and information according to the new evidence that they have here. So they sit there, and for 50 years they thought that there were actually fires being built in this cave, and with the new evidence and just going back over the evidence that's always been there, scientist reviews it and everything else and decides that that's not actually what happened, gives his point of view, does the publication, let the peer review fall where it may, and now the evidence is that we had fire 300,000 years ago, which is still a whole lot older than what the Bible ever says. But so I just like that article there. Okay, like I said, we try and do a book review each week, and this week.
Okay, finally me, I get a book review. Christian Fundamentalism, A Journey into the Heart of Darkness. This is by David Hopewell. I believe it's Hopewell. It could be Hopewell. This is a good book. This is the newest new book published by American Atheist Press. And basically what this is a more up-to-date examination of some of the cults. It's comprehensive. It goes into a lot of the past cults, but it actually is more up-to-date than most books that talk about cults in general, being that it goes into the solar temple, and in Japan, the religious cult out there that set off that sarin gas attack in the subways there. But it's very comprehensive. I like it. I mean, I've read most of it, and I'm going to give you an additional report next week probably on the rest of it. But it goes into a great deal of detail about certain things. But it has a whole chapter on Armageddon. Actually, it's a subchapter. Let's go to 208 and talk about that, because I wanted to talk about that and make it a subject because of the impending year 2000. And I keep seeing things on TV about Y2K, year 2000. And on the religious channels now, they're bringing it up too and trying to tie it into a whole lot of religious mumbo-jumbo. And I'm sure by the time 2000 comes around, most of these problems are going to be taken care of, with a few exceptions. But I don't think it's going to be a big Armageddon type situation like CBN and TBN are making you want to think. But it goes into a great detail and about several different subjects, but it quotes the Bible in several places and basically cuts it apart. The predictions and the prophecies that are talked about and the Armageddon and the whole situation there with 666, the last judgments, basically rips it apart and exposes it for what it is. And we'd love to hear from callers out there who really buy into the Revelation story, and of course other people, atheists. Feel free to comment on this, because it's a lot of fun when you go into Revelations. And I sat down and read it again the other day, and it just is entertaining how crazy it is, and the second coming and all the crazy things that are predicted to happen. We'll go into this a little more later, but
yeah, it's really interesting, because the millennium actually doesn't end until December 31st, year 2000. And 1999 is not the end of the century.
Does God know that, though?
Yeah.
Does Jesus, is he aware of that?
So you got a lot of people that are thinking that is the end of the century, and it's not. So we'll get this twice. We'll get this in 1999, and we'll get this at the end of the year 2000.
Well, let's be generous as atheists and give Christians twice.
Yeah, give
Sure.
them
A second
two
chance.
chances at it. Yeah.
So many others have needed that second chance.
There's a seer in Iran that's predicted all the earthquakes for this weekend. Did you hear about that?
I think so.
They got like 10 million people have left the city because they think the seer, and that's what they call him, a seer, and they got people that come on TV that say this guy has never gotten anything right in his life. I was like, how's he make a living being a seer if he's never been right?
That's a lot like Pat Robertson recently saying
go.
that Florida is in for it because of their respect for gays. And it's just amazing how quickly they jumped on the fire idea, and then how quickly they jumped on the idea of sending a bunch of money and support down there, and getting themselves in the news for that too. In a more positive light, I think they kind of smartened up after the little, the little prophecies of meteorites even hitting Florida and destroying it, and then the next day the papers say, Florida's on fire. Well,
Does that mean that Texas is doomed now because they pulled out their support from the Disney?
That's right. It's another news item going on.
No, they're saved.
They're saved because they pulled out.
They pulled out. Yes. So Pat Robertson's got to agree with Texas there, or whatever there on that one.
Disney's so evil.
Yes. So the other reason we brought it Armageddon, because it's in the movie theaters right now, and I understand you went and saw it too, didn't you, Dave? I saw it while I was on vacation there. I was a little disappointed in the science aspect of it, and they cannot attach to the Mir station that quick. They just went up and
Really?
It took them 2 seconds to attach, and two at a time there. They had
2 at a time?
Yeah, they would send up 2 shuttles at once. It was quite interesting there.
Well, if it was Armageddon and Bruce Willis was the Messiah, he was destroyed in the movie, so I have ambiguous feelings.
Yeah. Oh, you're giving it away. Bruce Willis dies in the end of the movie, man. You done gave it away.
Blew it.
Happy ending after all.
Yes. But I heard several people talk about if the end was actually coming, that what they would actually be doing there. So that would be a great topic. What would you be doing if this was the actual end? The movie itself didn't get into the religious part of it. I was kind of surprised about that. They didn't show a bunch of religious freaks all...
like on Contact.
Yeah, on the
right?
Contact or whatever. Yes.
Going crazy with themselves.
Thinking this was the end. But he was saying if an asteroid that big hit, the survivors would be in such terrible state that he was thinking that his best advice was to go where the asteroid hit and get it over with quickly. It's like go stand in front of the asteroid, so because he was saying life afterwards wouldn't be worth living. Is basically what
the survivors would envy the dead.
Yes.
Like if TV were to disappear, right? No, Dave, you disagree. Okay. Well, that's good. That's a Simpsons joke, by the way.
Now that just reminds me of a piece of news that came over very tentative, and this thing may be a rumor, but it is that there's a man, an entrepreneur in Florida, who's running cruises for people who want to engage in euthanasia.
Self-euthanasia?
Yes, they say they've got a waiting list of 600 people who want to go out and commit euthanasia quietly in the deep.
That's a big number. It would seem to me that...
If that's verified, and people are now trying to find out if there's a basis to it, that has an interesting implication.
That's not thinning the crowd, that's thickening the crowd, right?
I think so, yeah.
Right out the window.
But yes, that'd be interesting. See if any of them tried to come back afterwards. It was like, yes, I'll go out there and I'll contact you all and let you know how it is on the other side.
From
This
beyond.
picks up after the millennium.
Yes, yes. And,
That's going to be quite a time, I think. You know, just being there, I mean, with all the expectations coming up, but for atheists as well, because it's going to be like a circus.
yeah, and
Great to see a circus, even if there is a whole lot of wild stuff going on that you wouldn't ever take part in.
but I don't think they're going to let us say I told you so, though.
But we can say, come the rapture, can we have your car? Right? If this car is unmanned at rapture, can I please have that? It's a nice car, but...
So like I say, this is July 12th, Sunday morning, July 12th. If you we'd love to hear from Austin out there, any atheists or Christians, either one. We'll talk about anything. Today's topic is Armageddon in general. Yeah, I see something here about 666.
There's a couple of pages on the mark of the beast, so-called 666, from Revelation 13, verse 16 through 18. Almost 2,000 years ago, described by John, plays beautifully to the lust of modern fundamentalists to see themselves as persecuted and victimized by some kind of wicked conspiracy, the more widespread and subtler the better. Through great effort, I myself have determined who the beast actually is. This is Mr. Hopewell talking now. It is either the Antichrist, or the revived Roman Empire, or Satan, or all three. The Bible is that precise. But I don't expect that this will quite satisfy the fundamentalist hunger for devils. Here, at any rate, is the passage which has inspired so much fevered mathematics and general lunacy among the faithful down the ages. And he's right about the mathematics part. I've seen studies done that are just mind-boggling based on
come up to that
this
666.
couple of paragraphs here, and I wanted to go ahead and quote it. And he, the beast, causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666 for us newbies. And that's the one verse that, gosh, has caused so much math in the name of religion and freakiness and scariness. And it's all kind of romantic sounding. I think Stephen King probably would have done something like that had he I don't know, the gumption. But had he been alive back then, he probably could have even done a better job. Let's go over here. What's up?
These are some fun things that were handed to us here, and there's a bumper sticker that we saw that we liked, and let's see.
Nobody's on two.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
God was my co-pilot, but we crashed in the mountains, and I had to eat him. And then we got a couple other things here. Go ahead, David.
Well, that's kind of interesting. I don't know if you want to get into the Christian sacrament.
Sure.
Christians sometimes, if they're brought up to be Christians, don't realize that symbolically they are actually committing cannibalism.
Yes. And there's like famous people in the past, like George Washington, who refused to take communion.
Right.
And I thought that was pretty interesting when I read that. He was a deist, though, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, basically, but a rather intense one from what we're told.
But the whole idea that he was that set against communion there, I just thought that was really interesting. But go ahead. You.
Oh, well,
I like that one. Show that. Let's do a close-up of this one, man.
Can we get a close-up of this?
Real close. Look at that. Now, what are they carrying?
Carrying a Bible and door to door.
No Mormons or
put that on
Jehovah's
on your front door, right?
He's carrying a suitcase, or a little briefcase, and so is she, and she's carrying a Bible there. They're big smiles, and they're wanting to convert you to their religion so that you can help support them financially. Yeah, no.
But that'd be equally good for Jehovah or
well, Jehovah's Witnesses or Latter-day Saints.
Any of them, yeah. There's several of them that come to your door nowadays.
Several fundamentalist groups, and they don't have too good look at my door.
Okay. But we can go down.
Let's talk about the atheist pamphlet there, yeah.
Yes.
Actually, yeah, that actually is interesting.
Sure.
These are non-tracts that are put out by the Freedom from Religion Foundation in Madison, Wisconsin, and because they are written by Dan Barker, who is a former preacher, minister, who has become an atheist, he certainly understands both positions, and he's got some excellent content here. The myths about atheism are that atheists are all immoral, that atheists are responsible for the world's ills, atheists have no reason to live, atheists are angry people, atheists must be unhappy, atheists are arrogant, atheists are agents of the devil, atheists are all communists. Well, since communism has gone down, we can discard that one. Atheists are blind to truth, love, and beauty, and there are no atheists in foxholes. And he's got very good rebuttals to each one of those points.
Let's go with the immoral one there.
The immoral?
Right from the start.
Yeah, we do get that criticism quite a bit, that atheists have no set standard code of morals or ethics, therefore they don't have any morals or ethics. And I have yet to see an atheist who has behaved as badly as people who are not atheists.
Right.
Everybody's human, everybody has weaknesses, everybody makes mistakes, but I don't think you'll find atheists going out here trying to destroy the world. Three comments that are sometimes made about atheists by people who are not are these. You're an atheist because you don't want God to cramp your lifestyle. And the answer to that is, you're right. It would cramp the lifestyle of most atheists to believe in fairy tales, to swear blind obedience to a non-existent dictator, and to surrender reason to faith. Mature people don't blame or credit the supernatural. They take responsibility for their own actions and do not need bribes like life after death or threats of hellfire in order to obey our secular laws. And that's one of the things that really puts some atheists off about Christianity, is that Christianity is essentially very, very self-centered. It's, I want my soul to be saved. Everything that I do is, I do good because I want to get saved in heaven. If I do evil, I will be damned. And it's based on fear and selfishness. And that is something that really offends a lot of atheists. And the second one is, if you're religious, you are moral. Well, I think we just had in the news this morning a tragic story of 3 Catholic children who were murdered over in Ireland. That's one religion, one part of Christianity against another part of Christianity. I don't think that's especially moral. People taught never to question authority are more easily victimized or corrupted. If you believe that you're going to get some reward after you die, if there's an existence after you die, and you're promised by somebody pie in the sky by and by when you die, you're going to be happy to live in poverty or do whatever you're told to do by your leaders, political or otherwise, in this life. You don't have the impulse to think for yourself and to make the best kind of a life you can for yourself. That's another danger of following any kind of authority, religious or otherwise. And he says here, murderers, mutilators, child molesters, rapists, sexists, even slaveholders have turned to Bible text to justify their abhorrent conduct, which is one difficulty with the Bible. You can support any position in the world depending on what part of the Bible you pick to support it. There's been a huge controversy in the Austin Daily Chronicle for the last, or Weekly Chronicle for the last month or so, between homosexual partisans and
Because of a lot.
rabid anti-gay people, and they quote the Bible back and forth, and they're right. They're all quoting the same book. And the third is there's no basis for morality without a belief in God. And by the Christian standards, atheists are immoral simply for being unbelievers, not because of anything they've done. And I don't think that's a moral position. It should be what you do rather than what you believe. And
Okay.
you know, rather than doing something because you think God's going to punish you, but considering what you do and consequences to other people, I think is a better basis for living.
Well,
Keith, we got any?
I see a
No?
bunch of callers calling in there. It said we do appreciate your calls there, and just hang with us. We'll be getting to the calls here in just a second.
3. Well, I was just going to say, yeah.
That's the first myth.
The way, yeah, we'll get into a little bit more. The way that Christianity is set up, yeah, you can have an afterlife and be in heaven even, and heaven is just the greatest, by definition, the greatest feeling. It really is cool. And you get to have that if you're forgiven when you die. And of course, a lot of Christians, like Catholics, like to go and be forgiven once a month or once a week even.
Yes.
And it's by another human being, of course, and that's all okay because he's supposed to be a man of the cloth and all that. But I really think it's more of a gamble, and it's more of a bargain and a trade-off, kind of like capitalism. You know, you give me something, I give you back, or vice versa. And then that way one hand scratches the other, you know, and everybody's happy, you know, and instead of it being about love. And I've had Christians tell me that all the time, that when you die, that's what's most important, is not when you live, because if you are forgiven when you die, well, that excuses a whole lot, but I just don't think that's honest. And
But don't they also believe the rapture is actually going to bring people up from the grave too, or whatever?
Oh, probably.
I've heard that
there's a whole
story
lot of
too.
stuff.
That when the rapture happens, that your body's actually going to rise from the grave.
I do not want to see that.
No, me either.
Who was it? George Romero did that film a few years ago called The Night of the Living Dead.
Yes.
That's what it's going
Cult
to be like.
classic, yeah.
People are not
Supposedly.
going to be resurrected in their Sunday best suits and their gold rings. And if there is such a thing, I don't want to see it.
Come the rapture, I want your car. You know?
So,
You're after that car.
like I said, I was on vacation. It really surprised me how much Christian radio is on the AM side of the. I got out there in the middle. I guess it's the Bible Belt between here and Indiana, and nothing good on the FM. So I flip it over to AM, and I'm going through there, and there's like 6 or 7 coming strong, loud and clear. Yeah. And their biggest complaint right now is the internet, getting the internet attached to all the schools, because of all the pornography that comes along with the internet. And they're trying to sell on the idea of using their filter system there. And I guess we're ready to try to do a caller here. Let's see. Good morning, caller.
Yes. I have a question for the panel.
Sure.
I was wondering if any of you had ever experienced the Unitarian Universalist experience, because there are so many people in that organization who are atheists, and it's not incompatible with an atheist belief system or philosophy. Actually, it's quite supporting of it.
To
I
the
was
point.
wondering if any of you had ever attended or have any, exposure to it.
Actually, the gentleman that's coming in to do our lecture series is a Unitarian, I think. Isn't he?
Okay.
Moss, isn't he a Unitarian?
I don't know.
I'm thinking
He is?
Yeah, I
Okay.
just been verified that. Moss
Down.
Worship, he's going to be doing our lecture series September 6th.
Oh.
Is actually going to be, is a Unitarian. I don't know that many Unitarians. I've actually never been to a Unitarian service. I've been invited several times. Like you say, they feel that they are compatible with atheists, and they have invited us several times. And that's something I will have to do. I take it you go to a Unitarian church yourself?
Yes, I do, and I would strongly recommend it. Being raised a fundamentalist who was terrorized as a child by the whole rapture thing that you're talking about,
Right.
Exposed to films and, just a constant indoctrination of it. As an adult now, I find, which I really am more inclined to call myself an atheist more than anything else, But I find it, quite an enlightening group of people to, socialize with and exchange ideas, and it's good growth. So I just wanted to recommend it and see if any of you had ever experienced it.
I appreciate that, but don't they still believe in a higher being, though, or something?
No, not necessarily, no. As a matter of fact, I've got a lot of their literature, and I have yet to find anything in any of the literature that supports that idea.
Go ahead, David. David has a point.
I haven't attended a service. I know the Unitarians have been very hospitable to the Humanist Association in Austin. The Humanist meetings were held over there for several years in the church on Grover Street, Grover Avenue. And I attended a concert over there a couple of months ago, and in the lobby they had posted a basic statement of the Unitarian Church. Don't recall where it was published, but it's on a large plaque in the main in the main lobby there. And I was going through that very carefully to see whether that and what I thought, or my view of the world, could correspond.
Possibly come together.
Yeah, and I found no differences, nothing that I could take offense to or could not agree with, except one item. I think towards the end there it does have some reference to a, I don't believe it used the phrase higher power, but it said
it might have been
supreme being. It had some phrase like supreme being. It did not define what it was, but it was a part of their basic statement of belief.
It seems like it's just a little ambiguous, that one point alone, and that there are a lot of different opinions.
I have to agree, it is a little ambiguous, but nevertheless, the philosophy tries to embrace anyone. It doesn't try to force the idea of a deity.
No,
and if you don't believe in a deity, that's fine. It's not incongruous with that.
Yeah, and I applaud for that, because there's a lot of religions out there that are very exclusive. They have the answer. They're not going to listen to anyone else.
That's right.
And so we'd love to see more religions like that that would tolerate our point of view and work with the whole within the system instead of.
Well, yeah, their statement was very welcoming. It wasn't critical. It wasn't dogmatic. I really appreciated that.
Well,
one of the things,
sure.
One of the banner statements of the organization itself is tolerance and reason.
Mm-hmm.
And
excellent point.
That's very welcoming to anyone. So, and not one particular philosophical or religious path is exclusively examined. Many are, and to expose the individual to as many different ideas and philosophies as possible. It's really good. I suggest you attend sometime. They have many great educational type classes and reading different books and open discussions, and so I find it really good.
Thanks for your call.
All right, thank you.
You
Bye-bye.
take care. Okay, we'll go on down the line to Steve.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm glad you all are on.
Thank you.
Could you all define for me, it doesn't have to be all three of you, but what is the definition of a religion? In just a real layman's.
On our point of view, anybody that
I've got my top of my head.
anyone that goes in with a supernatural being as that's above and beyond the natural world.
So you would define it with the word supernatural being somewhere in there. See, I would define it as a belief system. That we all believe in something, and doesn't necessarily have to incorporate supernatural as you all.
That's where I would have to differ, as that the supernatural has to come in there somewhere. But just a belief system by itself, in and of itself, I would call just a belief system. But religion, see, we try to keep a sort of non-ambiguous definition and kind of keep it tight, because a lot of people want to expand it. But I say it has to have a little supernatural. Of course, other people can disagree with me.
And the whole idea, once you start using the word belief, you run into problems with atheists, because we don't like using the word belief.
You don't like to use the word belief.
Right.
But it is a valid word that we all have, we all believe in something. We all have a reason why we think we're here, how we got here, where we're going after our bodies die. I mean,
Sure.
that's what I mean when I say a belief system.
Okay.
Belief is kind of an ambiguous word. I haven't looked up the word in the dictionary, so I don't know what Webster says, but that's my understanding of a religion is that kind of thinking. You know, where
Okay.
we come from, where are we going, what are we doing here, why are we here? And that is something that you three and I and all of us have. It's, for lack of a better term, a belief system. And that, to me, I think is truly our religion. And I don't know.
I've had other people try to tell us
That's
that,
the
that
expanding part
Well,
there.
I too believe in a supernatural being, but that's my belief system. Yours is obviously different, but my point is, I think we all have a religion. Yours is that there is no supernatural being, that perhaps mankind is the highest form of intelligent life.
We've had other callers that try to convince us that atheist is a religion, atheism is a religion.
Yeah. Well, let me just bolster
Sure.
my viewpoint with the fact that the Supreme Court has ruled the belief that secular humanism, which is basically the same belief I think that you have, it's the idea that mankind is the highest form of intelligent life as we know it in the universe. That's what secular humanists believe. The Supreme Court has ruled that that is a religion.
No, the Supreme Court's been wrong in several instances. I think humanism, though, is also even more ambiguous of a term. I mean, because technically you're right, a humanist attitude and approach without supernatural is what atheism is, but humanists do not go as far, and it's all about degrees, I think, in stating that they're going to be away from supernatural.
I know Joe's associated with American Atheists, but I do want to mention that Madeline O'Hare, with whom I worked for several years, faced this all the time, and she did not like the word belief.
Yeah.
And she, because of her background, I think, probably reached back and found a German word for it that does not have an easy English translation. And she called it a Weltanschauung, which is
It's a new one on me.
a German term for translates world view, way of looking at the world.
Yeah.
I would accept that term.
Which did not imply any belief, but it was a way of looking at reality, and that's the term she preferred to use for herself.
Sure.
I like that.
So worldview, I think, was the...
So it's
I think
atheism would be
we're
our...
splitting hairs with semantic terms, but yeah, I would concur that is kind of the idea I'm talking about.
Yeah, we're trying to get away from the religious baggage that terms like belief often have.
Okay, well, if you prefer that term. Well, what that last caller mentioned was three things that I guess I would differ with you greatly on, and they're real nice-sounding terms like tolerance, reason, expose people to the differences of the beliefs or worldviews. There are some things that are according to my religion, and I would think even to your worldview, should be considered intolerant. I mean, is there anything that any of you three would find intolerant a practice or
murder, rape?
But in some religions or worldviews, that there may be an occasion for that. I mean, I understand that Satanists sometimes will have sexual practices one would call it a rape, but that's totally they're tolerant of that, and that's their thing. But you would find it abhorrent. Perhaps one of you would, or all three, or what I'm saying is there's
It really depends on the situation. I mean, if there's an unwilling party involved, obviously we have to say that's not good, but do unto others, real good idea that's not original to Christianity.
But I do have a bunch of other callers. You want to make a point?
I just want to sum it up that I just think there are some, you don't want to expose people, like your children, to all ideas. Some ideas you want to protect your children from, and you don't want to have tolerance for everything in your home, and so I would disagree, but I do appreciate you all on the air. I think that this is a healthy dialogue for the whole community.
Yes.
I would like to make one response to
I do appreciate you being there.
To your last,
I appreciate that. And David's going to make a response.
Just a response to your last point there about differing ideas. Atheists are probably more open to, as far as ideas are concerned, now you're talking about abhorrent practices, but as far as ideas, atheists are probably more open to a comparison there. I think most atheist parents are very anxious to have their children study various religions so that they have the comparative study of religion gives you an idea of what is common to them all and where some have weaknesses, and you're less likely to be trapped in one particular frame of thinking. And so I have tried to expose my children to as many competing ideas as is possible, and I'm not worried about horrible ideas that they might encounter as long as they are willing to consider every idea that they can find, and they develop a judgment pretty quickly as to what's valid and what is abhorrent.
I'll be praying for you three. God bless you.
Thank you.
Shouldn't pray for us. You should go
Thanks.
do something worthwhile.
You could cut them off earlier.
Okay. Bob. Good morning, Bob.
Hi, good morning. My wife and I have just moved to Austin about a month ago.
Welcome to Austin.
Thank you. And we came from Bartlesville, Oklahoma, which is like the buckle of the Bible Belt.
Okay.
And
Phyllis Petroleum, right?
yeah, Phyllis Petroleum, exactly. And we enjoy the show
Thank you.
very much. But I just had one minor
Sure.
question. How come there are no women on the panel?
Excellent point. We do have women in the group, and we've had two.
Last week.
Yeah, Sue was on there last week. So
Our producer's woman, Kellen. Excellent.
So yeah, we'd love to have more women in the group. And we do. They're definitely outnumbered.
I just think it would provide a nice balance if you had some more feminine voices on screen a little more and
Well,
get some of their viewpoints too.
Our number is 379-2911.
Is that it?
Did I say it right?
Voicemail?
I said it wrong. 371-2911. We'd love to have more women join the group. So we'd love to hear from the atheist women out there. You and your wife are welcome to come and visit, and we'd love to have them on the show. We'd love to have any guest on the show.
Also, I'd like to get your opinions or comments
Sure.
on Buddhism. And I'm not talking about Buddhism that's been filtered through other cultures and reabsorbed through their religions, like through China and Japan and so forth, but the classical Buddhism that actually accentuates things like the no soul and no creator.
Right. Well, like any religion that doesn't out there that's as evangelical as the Christians are. So the Buddhists try to work within nature and try to be part of nature and everything else. So I do like that part of it. Again, they're giving themselves up to a higher being. They think that there's a supernatural force. I don't think they pinpoint it to actual one person, right? It's more of a force.
Well,
Okay.
I'm not an expert.
That's what I was referring to, classical Buddhism, because when Buddhism left its original source, they adopted certain aspects of Buddhism and then put in the supernatural part also. But classical Buddhism does not believe in a creator, does not believe in a soul.
I think you're talking about, well, Gautama Buddha was, I understand, atheistic in his viewpoint.
Yes, he was,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
And he considered the greatest sin that man can commit is ignorance.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Thank you. I'm sorry, we do have a bunch of other calls. Welcome you to Austin. Hope you call the show again.
Sure, thanks. We enjoy the show.
You take care.
Bye.
And we're moving on down to John.
Hello?
Good morning.
Hi. I was just wondering if you, you said that you had a belief, or you have trouble with the word belief.
Correct.
I was just wondering if you believe, do you have,
No, I'm convinced with the scientific evidence that we have in our present state that evolution is the closest answer we got at this point. The Big Bang is one of many theories that for the creation of the universe and everything else. I think the scientific evidence is so overwhelming against creationism that does that answer your question? I'm sorry.
yeah, I suppose. Also, I was wondering if you guys, you are an atheist, but are you know for sure that, or do you have
Know for sure that I'm an atheist?
do you know for sure that there is no God and the rest of your life is the same?
Okay.
Okay.
Different question.
That nobody can be 100% positive that there is a God, or 100% positive that there is no God.
Exactly, yeah.
All I can do is weigh the evidence and make my own decision and live with that decision. I'm quite prepared to live with that decision.
I can be totally sure that the self-contradictory and irrational ideas, God ideas that have been put forth are mostly impossible and all improbable and not worth considering, and since people have been searching for their various gods for over 10,000 years, I think it's about time that we relegate them to the we don't know and let's not bother with it file. Instead, there are a lot of people who want to go on absolutely no real sound or real solid evidence or proof at all, and base the whole religion on that and be convinced their one particular God is the right one, and I can dispose of that quickly and easily. Call?
Any other comments there, John?
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you. Let's go on down to Sandra.
Yeah, I just want to know, what's your theory on the fires in Mexico?
My theory on the fires?
Well, El Nino, right?
Good question.
Yeah, it was real funny watching the guys with the big fire going off in the background. Here's this farmer starting another fire right there in his field. Did you see that on the
Well,
news?
they're controlled burning.
Yeah, marijuana leaf right there on his and this big marijuana leaf right there on his hat.
Oh my, okay.
And he's like, he wasn't concerned at all about the fires, 2 miles away, and he was burning his own field. So there's a certain amount of evidence out there that a lot of that was burning was to clear crops for marijuana. So who knows?
Well, it was really wild when all that smoke came over here to Austin, right? It was really hard to see, and yeah, I think it's interesting that the normal smoke that's there really didn't bother people. When you start seeing it
Yeah,
every
the
day.
smog in Mexico City is worse in the world there. Let's go on down to Mark.
How y'all doing today?
Excellent.
Well, I've been, every once in a while I catch y'all on here. It's not very often, but, normally I just sit and watch and listen and try to become a little more informed.
I appreciate that.
However, being myself raised up through my life as a Pentecostal,
Right.
and I have got out on my own and formed my own views of the world, and formed, I would guess, would be, say, my own form of belief, which y'all don't have.
Okay.
But yeah, you just touched on the subject of, it's always been a big question for me,
Sure.
of creation versus evolution.
All right.
If evolution, if this really happened, if evolution is the way we come, and I do understand there are parts of science that point to it, how is it that you can explain away all the prophecies through the Bible, as well as the modern day prophets such as Nostradamus, of everything that has come to pass and is continuing to come to pass?
And, sir, since you brought up prophecies, I think you've called before and brought up prophecies.
No, really and truly, this is the first time.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't mind at all. Why don't you said, did he say a number of prophecies? Why don't you pull out one of these, of your 1,000 of prophecies that you say have come true, and enlighten us? Because we don't think there's any prophecy in the Bible that has ever been proven true.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you give us one.
Well, see, like I said before, I'm not a, shall we say, a practicing believer, but I do know that there are several that have come to pass.
No, you've been told that. If you can't sit there and recite it to me and tell me what that prophecy is, you've been told that that is true, and you have not investigated it. If you investigated it, you'd find out that it is not true.
Well, it's impossible to investigate anyway. I mean.
But go ahead.
But go on.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, all right, let's get away from the prophets of the Bible. Let's go to Nostradamus.
Okay.
All right, now, Nostradamus, he's gone right along with the Bible on several things. Earthquakes, has predicted major disasters.
James Randi did an excellent book on Nostradamus, and there has not been a single prophecy of Nostradamus that was ever prophesied before the event. They all were reread and reinterpreted to after the event. Okay. The one about Napoleon and whatever else was not figured out until after it happened. The one with, where the king got stabbed in the eye or whatever did not occur until after it happened. Nobody sat down and said, hey, you're going to die in some sword fight here in the year 2012 or whatever because Nostradamus said it, because nobody can do it. Any other prophecies you'd like to know about?
Oh no, I was really just curious how you could explain this away, and
I had no problem at all explaining that away, and I hope the rest of the viewers. So and David, David,
go ahead. Well,
go right ahead.
The difficulty with prophecies is that they have to be so vague and they have to be interpreted. You can't make them too specific. You remember Jeannie Dixon, who back in the 50s and 60s was making prophecies out of Washington, D.C.?
Vaguely, I ain't that old, man.
Yeah, okay. Well, she's about as current example as we have of somebody with a reputation as being a prophet. And she had a hit rate of, what was it, 30% or so, something like that. And if you're careful and if you're well read, you can make a pretty good guess and prediction. But she had to be vague. She never was very specific. This fellow you mentioned this morning, this seer over in where was
Iran.
It? Iran. Okay. This guy has prophesied or predicted again and again and again. So far, he's had a 0 batting average. Yeah. One of these days, he's going to guess something, and it's going to happen, and then he'll get into the big time.
Out of chance.
Right.
But
so would you say that psychics for general are a sham?
Yes.
I agree.
They'd be calling
good for you.
They'd be calling you up and charging it because they know you don't mind.
You know, you notice in the paper every year they put a newspaper ad about the Psychics Fair in Austin.
Right.
If these people were actually psychic, they wouldn't need the ad.
Right.
Good one. So, any other points, caller?
No, I just had that one question. I mean,
I hope I answered it well.
Well, I'll call back next time when I'm more prepared.
Yeah,
We'll
call us with any prophecy that you want out of the Bible that you say was prophesied and came true. I would love to hear, because we believe that there is no prophecy ever came true from the Bible.
You said the word believe.
Yes, I did, didn't I?
I've got one.
Take care.
Why isn't there a prophecy in the Bible that said atheists will get on TV and will slam this very book?
Here we go. Nigel?
Yeah.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to y'all, too. Yeah. There was this one prophecy in the Bible
Sure.
that said atheists would eat hamburgers.
Well,
Probably.
Good prophecy.
what Bible is he working in?
Right?
Yeah. Oh, is that the, what translation is that? Yes, there we go. Let's go on down to Lawrence?
It's Maurice.
Maurice, I'm sorry. Blame that on our floor manager's handwriting.
Yes. Well, I just now turned to the show, so I'm not sure how everything goes, so please excuse me if I
That's quite all right.
mess up here. I'm more interested in, I guess, the academic part of atheism. I'm not sure, I guess the movement, came to be. Obviously, I mean, people have thought that way for a while, but when did the separation in academia, back in, I guess, in Europe, when did it start to, I guess, deviate from, the norm, which was Catholicism, to, I guess, the atheism without the deist type of thought? I mean, when was the point where people started to rethink, well, is there really a God? I mean, did it happen during, the 14th century, or did it happen earlier? Did it happen after the Crusades? Did it happen, during the Protestant Reformation?
Wow.
You definitely sound like you're a well-educated person there.
And Enlightenment. And
That's a heavy question. There always have been from the beginning of Christianity. There were these little schisms, little heretic groups that split off, but it was impossible to think that God wasn't in charge of the universe, wasn't controlling everything in Europe for centuries. And I think, in answer to your question, there were several persecutions by one Christian group against another Christian group or break-off group for centuries. I think about the first time that a person who could truly be called an atheist, who rejected the God idea, would be, I would place it in the early 1700s.
Okay.
I would say that Baron de Holbach was probably about the first.
After the Dark Ages, you mean?
Diderot, way after.
Right.
Yeah, I would say early 1700s. Diderot's Encyclopedia, Baron de Holbach, that group of people, Voltaire.
Yes.
Voltaire, I realize, was not an atheist, but it's in that period, I think, that the idea began to be current that there may be a supernatural force out there, but Christianity was was completely wrong, off the track. And then they got away from the God idea itself. And it's fairly recent. It's not an old idea as a movement.
Well, I understand it, but I wasn't understanding whether it was a religious movement or was it an actual academic movement. You know what I mean? Because
it started.
The educated people obviously were the ones who learned, but still in the university type of circuit, you still had you still had I guess a kind of deviation from the science of something or the academic of something. You know, when they talk about logic and so on and so forth, like Thomas Aquinas, versus just the hardcore true believer. Jesus is Jesus. Jesus came here. He whipped ass. He's going to whip ass with you. You know, that kind of.
Right. Well, it's a combination of the development of science. You had scientists on the one hand who just were working scientifically without any regard to religion often. And it was a combination of that, plus people who were